Today on The Explainer, we're diving into the life of B.R. Ambedkar, a man who didn't just witness history, he wrote it. So let's just start with this massive question. How do you even begin to write the rule book for a brand new nation of hundreds of millions, soon to be over 1 billion people, a place with all of its incredible diversity and, its deep, deep divisions? Yeah, an epic task for sure. But for the man who would actually lead this charge, the journey didn't start in some grand hall or a fancy office. It started with the simple, searing injustice of being denied a glass of water. So to really get who this architect was, we've got to go back. We have to understand the world that forged him, a world that was really defined by this one incredibly cruel practice. And that system was untouchability. See, Ambedkar was born into the Mahar caste, which was considered untouchable. And what that meant was that he and literally millions of other people were just cut off. They were segregated, denied the most basic rights, and faced humiliation every single day, simply because of the family they happened to be born into. And this quote, it just captures the brutal daily reality of it all. When he was a kid at school, he wasn't allowed to even touch the water jug. Can you imagine? He had to wait for a school assistant, a peon, to pour water into his hands from way up high. And if the peon wasn't around, well, he just went thirsty. He summed up that whole painful memory later in his life with just 4 words: no peon, no water. And the humiliation, it didn't stop at the water jug. No way. He was actually forbidden from sitting inside the classroom with the other kids. Instead, he was forced to sit all by himself on this rough, gunny sack. And get this, he had to take it home with him every single day so it wouldn't pollute the school floors. But here's the thing. This brutal system, it ran smack into a mind that just refused to be held down. For Ambedkar, education wasn't just about books and learning. Oh no. It was about forging weapons, the intellectual weapons he knew he'd need for the fight of his life. And I mean, just look at this timeline. It is an absolute powerhouse of achievement. First a bachelor's from Bombay, then he goes and gets a master's and a PhD from Columbia University in New York. And as if that's not enough, he also gets a master's and a doctorate of science from the London School of Economics. It's just an unbelievable intellectual journey. And you really have to put this in perspective. This level of education was extraordinary for anybody from India back then. But for the boy who was forced to sit on that gunny sack, to be one of just a tiny, tiny handful of people from his country earning multiple doctorates from these elite global universities, I mean, it was completely unheard of. So, armed with this incredible education, Ambedkar comes back to India. But he wasn't just coming home. Not at all. He was returning to the battlefield, and he was ready to wage a full-on war against the very injustice that had defined his entire childhood. And what's so brilliant is how strategic he was about it. This wasn't just a random fight. It was a full-blown, 4-pronged attack. He took the fight right to the streets, leading movements for the right to use public water and enter temples. He challenged the very ideas behind the system by publicly burning ancient texts. He jumped into the political arena, founding parties to secure real power. And he made sure to control the story by publishing journals to give a voice to people who had been silenced for centuries. Okay, so everything he's doing here, it's all building towards this one massive moment, the climax of his life's work. India is right on the edge of freedom, and the brand new nation desperately needs a rule book, a legal blueprint, a constitution. And who do they turn to? The very man who had been denied the most basic human rights. I mean, just think about that journey for a second. From the boy who couldn't drink from the public tap to being named the very first Minister of Law and Justice for a free India. And this is the crucial part, chairman of the Constitution Drafting Committee. The man who was once outside the rules was now in charge of writing the rules for everyone. And the result? Well, it was a constitution that was basically a direct assault on the world he grew up in. It completely outlawed all forms of discrimination. It guaranteed freedom of religion for every single citizen. It formally legally abolished untouchability. It didn't just mention women, it championed extensive economic and social rights for them. And it introduced reservations, a form of affirmative action to try and finally level a playing field that had been brutally tilted for thousands of years. But here's where it gets complicated. Ambedkar was no wide-eyed idealist. Just a few years later, in 1953, he gets up in Parliament and makes this absolutely shocking statement, right? Why on earth would the main architect of the Constitution say he'd be the first person to burn it?
Well, it's because he was profoundly frustrated. He saw that all those incredible promises of equality written on paper, they just weren't happening in real life. The old, broken system was proving incredibly, stubbornly hard to kill.
And that deep frustration, it led him to one final, really profound act in his life. He came to a realization. Political and legal changes, as important as they were, just weren't enough. He believed that for true, genuine liberation, there had to be a complete spiritual and cultural break. You know, he'd actually telegraphed this move decades earlier, way back in 1935, when he declared, "I was born a Hindu, but I will not die a Hindu." See, in his mind, the caste system was completely tangled up with the religion itself. He felt that to truly escape the prison of caste, he had to leave the entire religious framework that held it up. And so he did it. On October 14th, 1956, just weeks before he died, Ambedkar converted to Buddhism. But here's the amazing part. He did not go alone. He led a massive public conversion ceremony where an incredible 500,000 of his followers joined him, all of them looking for a new spiritual home, one that was actually built on the idea of equality. Now, he passed away just a short time after that monumental event, but his influence, man, it didn't just endure, it exploded. It absolutely cemented his place right in the heart of modern India. And if you want proof, look no further than this. It's staggering. Back in 2012, there was this huge poll to find the greatest Indian since independence. And the results? They were just stunning. Out of almost 20 million votes, Ambedkar won. And it wasn't even remotely close. He got way, way more votes than other giants of that era, like Nehru or Patel. It's just a powerful testament to how deeply relevant he still is, maybe even more so today. And it all kind of boils down to this, his final, powerful mantra for his followers. It's a 3-word philosophy that really sums up his entire life's work. Gain knowledge, fight against injustice, and build a powerful, unified movement. A simple but incredibly powerful message that still inspires millions of people to this day. So that brings us right back to where we started. Ambedkar's incredible life, it just forces us to confront that question. What does it really mean to build a nation on a promise of equality, especially when that nation's history is soaked in inequality? You know, his struggle and everything he built, it's still the ultimate test of that very promise.